Hello all, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, based on wherever you are. So in the next video on job queue, we'll talk a little bit about parameter string, a simple example, but the idea is that you at least get an idea how in your scenarios you can use parameter string. And then in the next video, we'll kind of expand the same parameter string to utilize it in a complex way. So thank you for all your comments on the first video, and hopefully you find something useful in this video. So what we did talk about in the last video is that how you set up job queue, what are the different uh, parameters and properties over there, how you set them up when you have to create a new job queue entry, what are the object type, what are the parameters, and so on and so forth. But we did not talk about the parameter string in that video. So let's understand it. Here you can specify a text string that is used as a parameter by the job queue when it is run. Now I'm running a report, or let's say I'm running a code unit. How does this parameter string helps me is what we are going to cover today. So what I've already done before recording this video is that there is a table, cost and update, I guess, balances. The idea of this table is to store the balances and balance due for each customer and vendor. And the requirement is that anytime it changes, let's say in every 5 minutes, there should be an automatic job which kind of update this table, either create the new record if there is a new customer or vendor gets added, or update the existing record with the balance and balance due. And based on the last update column, which is the last column here, we will be able to understand when this value was last updated with date and time. So let's see what the code is already written for this. So because it was pretty simple, I didn't want it to waste your time into it. So let me show it to you here. The code will be available in the GitHub repo, so don't worry. So there's a simple table called cust vendor balance, which have a type field of type option where the values are customer or vendor. And then there is a code field, which is either coming from the customer number or from the vendor number based on whatever the type is. Then the balance LCY, it is a decimal field, and balance due is a decimal field, and the last update is a date time field. And the primary key obviously is type and code. So this table will hold the record from customer and vendor table as their balances are being changed or if a new record is being created. Associated to that is a page where you cannot insert, modify, or delete anything. It's just for displaying purposes what we saw. Now to solve this, what I've done is I've created a code unit, and let me change the name so that it's correct according to the guidelines. Okay. In this, what I've done is there is a method called update customer data. What it does, it looks for each customer record, and if it finds it, it checks if that record exists into our customer and balance table. If yes, then it updates the record. Otherwise, it inserts the record. As simple as that. In the same way, there is another method for update vendor data, which does the same thing, but this time for vendor. And then the update customer vendor balance scans through that particular customer, checks if the balance or balance LCY has been changed, and if yes, then okay, I might have done something wrong here, so it's a good time that I can change it here. So this should be balance due not. Okay, let me correct this. I was in a rush, I guess, that's why I missed this. Okay, balance LCY. Okay, so if the customer balance is not equal to whatever the balance is in the our new table, or if the balance due has been changed on the customer versus in our table, then it just updates the record here and updates the last date modified time. And this should be balance LCY. See, I can be completely wrong into things. Okay. So balance LCY is being compared with the balance LCY, and then it's being stored here. Okay. And same for balance due LCY is being compared with the balance due LCY and being stored here. But if it is of type vendor, then it just again checks and removes the word due from here, because I'm pretty sure I did copy paste. So let me do this. Okay. So this function will update the record into that new table that we have. The other one, if a new customer or a vendor is found, this method will insert the record into the new table with all the values that are needed. Okay. So it inserts the record, defines the type, sets a number, and then gets the balance and balance due, and then inserts that record. Now, so far, so good. Now, I need to run it. The requirement is that, let's say, my customer balance should be updated every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and my vendor balance is updated, let's say, every 20 minutes. Now, logically speaking, at this moment, if you don't know about parameter string, what you'll do is you'll set up two job queues, and you will even create two code units which have more or less similar code, which will be scheduled on the job queue at the interval, right interval, when they want to use it, and then you will execute those job queues. But now let's understand the power of parameter string. So there are some rules when you're using parameter string. The first thing is the code unit that you're creating should always have a function, and it is not for the parameter string, but whenever you are using it on the job queue, you need to define a trigger which is on run, because code unit dot run will be called from the job queue when you run a code unit, and anything that is written inside this code unit will automatically on the on run trigger would automatically execute. Hopefully that makes sense. So I can either call this, or I can either call the other one, or I might call both, right? But the need here is that, let's say, my customer data should be updated, or balances should be updated every hour or every 10 minutes. Let's do this. And this should be updated every 15 minutes. And I'm just making a case, but then so that you kind of understand it with a very simple example, and then utilize this feature into whatever your requirement is. So now what do we do? So when you have to kind of bind this code unit to the job queue, we all know that there's a property called table number, so that you can associate this code unit with a specific table. So I'm going to associate with job queue entry. Now this table is associated with this entry, and this run can now access using rec all the fields that are available in that table, and we are going to use the parameter string. And I can just simply say that if my parameter string is, let's say, customer, then I would like to do this. Else, if it is vendor, then I would like to do this. So now what I'm telling the system, that whenever this is running via job queue, okay, and there's one more thing, and we'll talk about it in a while. If the parameter string at this point, I'm telling it, is set to customer, then use this, call this function. If the parameter string is set to vendor, then run this function only. Now, one more thing that you need to remember about the job queues, which we haven't talked about in the past, that your dialog boxes, your messages, your errors are kind of not directly supported by job queue. They kind of block the job queue. If you want to use the same code unit, let's say this code unit may be used by job queue and also by your custom code that you are writing in your business central, Then to kind of segregate what is job queue versus what is a user driven action, which is means background or user driven action, you can always use a trigger called if GUI allowed. Now what does GUI allowed does? It checks whether the AL code can show any information on the screen. So if there is a message, if there is a pop-up is written in your code, then you should always kind of bake it in with the GUI allowed. So if the GUI allowed is permittable, then you should kind of pop up those messages or not. And I can show you some examples in the standard code where this has been used, and not just from the perspective of job queue, but there are other reasons for it. And let's see. It should be in codeunit 80 because there are things which get posted externally where there is no user interface. So if I search for GUID allowed, if it's null GUID, no, there's nothing. Okay, that's off. Okay, let's give it a minute and let me think about it. There will be a scenario in the standard, a lot of scenarios for sure. So let's look at it again in codeunit 80, and if I search for it, you'll see here. So it says that if the GUI allowed, that means if user can see the, or user is performing this action from the client, then it'll show the windows.update, otherwise it will not, right? So you can see throughout the system that the pop-ups are kind of automatically suppressed by this line. So whenever you are writing a code which may run from the client as well as from in the background session, so background sessions are not GUI driven, so in that way you can control what pieces of that code will execute when it is run behind the scene and what pieces will run when a user runs it. So now, as we have defined that this code unit is mapped to this table called job queue entry, and based on different parameters string, I'm defining what will happen. So now if I make a update of this source code into our environment, and let me do that from here, I'll just do a publish. Now I'll be able to control that behavior by just creating two different job queue entries, but having different parameters and then define what happens. So I don't have to create two, or if you have a scenario where 20 different things are happening, you can just control it by just defining a different parameter into your job queue entry. And that way your code unit will understand, because it is mapped to that job queue entry record, that what is the parameter string that is being used right now and how should I proceed with that. So let's test it out. At this point, let's quickly check. Okay, this table or this page at this moment is completely empty. So now when I go into my job queue entry, okay, and let me create a new job queue. This time I'm trying to run a code unit, and the code unit is 50010, and I would like to set this for customer at this moment. This is case sensitive, so if you are keeping C capital here, that should be capital here because it's a text field, so keep that in mind. And then I would like to recur this every day, and as we wanted, we'll run it for every 10 minutes. Okay, so number of minutes between run is 10. So this is a recurring job which will run every day, every 10 minutes, starting as soon as I set it to ready, as we talked about in the previous session. And it should only run for the logic that is written for customer with the parameter, which means it'll only update the customer data. So let's set the status to ready and we'll let it run. In the meantime, while this is happening, we'll set up another one. And this time, okay, that doesn't sound fair. Let me copy this. Okay, and my parameter string becomes vendor. Okay, and here again, this runs every day. but in every 15 minutes. Okay, so let's set this to 15 minutes. Before we run this, let's go back and check that our table, what happened there. So if you notice, all the customer entries, the balance is coming as 0. So maybe I'm doing something wrong in the code, but you only see the customer part of the logic has been executed because I have passed the parameter as customer, and my code unit on the on run trigger is able to decide based on the parameter string which code need to be called. So what it is doing, it is going here, and then it is saying that it does not get it, so it goes to this, and then from here it just starts inserting that record into my new table. Okay, so that's get created. Also got the last date time updated. Even if I open it again, and let's wait for it a while, just end, I'll still see all the customer record. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this also, which is this time for vendor, and I'm going to set it to ready. Now what's going to happen, that this code unit of with the parameter vendor is going to run and will update this time the data related to the vendor. And how we can check it, just check it from here to see is there is a log created for it right now. So you'll notice that there's a success status for this code unit with the parameter string vendor, and this has been completed in 400 milliseconds. So now if I go to cust_vend, I should also see my vendor entries to be updated. So now all my vendor entries are also here. Sorry for the formula, I'm pretty sure I'm doing something wrong here, and maybe that's the calc field which I've missed, I guess. But this way, now I can kind of configure the same code unit based on the need that I have, and then set up 2 job queues with 2 different parameters. This will only update for customer. So if you look at the job queue log entries, you'll notice that it is only updating for customer records, whereas this one is only updating for the vendor record, and they both are running at a different time, but the work is done with one single code unit. So I don't have to duplicate more or less a similar code into 2 different code units and then execute them one by one, or I don't have to say that you cannot run the 2 different methods at different interval of time. And this can be something like, oh, I want this procedure to run daily. Let's say send a reminder to all the approvers who have not approved the entry, and then this one kind of acts as send a consolidated reminder to all the users who have not approved the entry for last 7 days. So this then run weekly, let's say, and this runs daily. So you don't have to write 2 separate logics or 2 separate code units to do this. You can just simply do that by utilizing the power of parameter string in your job queue entry. Hopefully you got something out of today's recording or session. And if you have any questions, put me into the chat. I actually have an interesting question that I'm going to talk about in the next video, or the last video in this particular series, which kind of extend how you use the parameter string in a completely more enhanced way. And so we'll see that into the next video, but you know the drill. If you have a question, add it in the comments. If you like the content, hit that like button. If you think this is useful for other developers and customers, share this. And if you haven't, do subscribe to the channel. Don't miss the fun that's happening in this channel. So till then, have a great day, and I'll see you sooner than later.